Council to order at 7 p.m. Tuesday, November 21st. Please rise for the invocation given by Councilwoman Lucido.
Dear God, as the Thanksgiving holiday nears, let us all take a moment and reflect on all that we are thankful for. We are grateful to live in a country that is based on a democracy that is truly of the people and by the people and for the people. We are grateful to live in the city of Eastpointe, where we continue to display what we can achieve when we work towards a common goal. We are grateful to be surrounded by family, friends, and a community that is willing to extend a helping hand whenever we are reaching out for support. And most of all, we are grateful for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us. It is in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item 1, roll call. Please call the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Kleinfeld.
Here.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Here.
Lucido.
Here.
Owens.
Here.
And is someone going to excuse Mayor Pixley? Is that how the practice is here?
Oh, is that how we've done it?
I'm asking, I'm not, I can't
I don't
recall.
think we have in the past.
Okay.
Oh, we can.
Yeah, I don't think we actually have it, like,
Fair enough.
excusals in our. But Mayor Pixley is out of town right now. That's why she's not here. Moving on to item 2, approval of the agenda. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem Kleinfeld, I'll motion to approve the agenda as is.
Support.
Support that.
Did you get that? Moved by Cardy and,
Yes, second by Lucido.
all right, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Yes.
Lucido.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kleinfeld.
Yes.
And Councilmember Owens.
Yes.
Moving on to item 3, hearing of the public. Would anyone wish to be heard? Mr. Creech.
Harvey Creech, he's a Detroit resident. And congratulations to everybody, or condolences or something, but now you got to put up with me. I'm a resident, and I tell you, as I say, coming back from even the last time, quite some time ago, I discussed quite a few things, and one of them was Spindler, and one of them was the same Memorial, and I asked about the CIP, which is $425,000. Well, the more I get into it, the more I found out. First of all, it wasn't presented to the council to get done under the CIP, but under the FOIA Acts, as I said, it's hard for me to believe after the third and fourth FOIA. I said, I just asked right here, it said every contractor who worked on the Patriot Building checks for the furnace, hot water tank, and air conditioner, tile floor, mechanical, electrical, every permit that was pulled. Well, it said, starting your request in full, there again too, I've got this request in full a lot. And I'm still getting parts and pieces of it. And it says right here, this is just to start it, over in Spindler. Removal and replacement of concrete walks. This is the Patriot Building. I thought all this was done under when the parking lot was done. No, here it's got a bill for $18,521.29. Who paid for that? And this is going to go on and on and on and on. And I say here, this one right here, it starts out, it says, we checked out the furnace, we oiled the motor, installed an air filter, material labor, $2,507.11. Here it goes on, it says daycare center, installed high efficiency Linux furnace with new module, $4,985. Is this starting to sound familiar? This is the first one. The next one, install 4 new LED lights, exit, emergency units, rooftop vents, remove top vents, $4,490. Starting to sound familiar? The next one, disconnected all the electrical wiring and pipe from the three block walls. They could be removed, rewired, checked out, material labor, travel time, $4,895. Starting to sound familiar? Here's one, $3,900. indirectly for people who still didn't know that these weren't not going to get done, and no red flags or nothing was pulled. There's a whole lot of money that was spent doing a lot of things, and there's more and more and more and more and more.
30 seconds,
This
Mr.
is your paperwork. Like I said before too, you know, if you want me, but all I'm trying to say, somewhere along the line, there was a whole lot of things done. They were quite unethical. I'm not going to say defrauded or the same thing about it. The public itself, between the public, the residents, and the council, there was a whole lot of work and a whole lot of money spent. And I'm still going to keep going until it's all looked into and all directed, because please look back into it, because I'm hoping that you're starting to get some of these copies. I'm paying for them, but you need to get them and look into this. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else wish to be heard? Mr. Duran?
Hi, I wanted to congratulate you all on your win. And also, the thing that I wanted to speak about,
Would you mind stating your name? We know.
Clarence Duran.
Yeah. Thank you.
And the thing I wanted to speak about was the lawsuit. And I wanted to speak about how are you feeling on that lawsuit? In other words, are you united together to fight against the federal government? Because I believe that the federal government is trying to break the city up into districts. It's not going to be good for the city at all, in my opinion, because it'll make each one of you vying for your own district to do things in your own district from where that person was voted out of. And also, one of the things that you mentioned in your prayer is that being accountable to the people who elected you. They're trying to make it less accountable for that member who gets elected in that district to the rest of everybody else, because he wasn't voted on by all of Eastpointe as we do now, as you all were elected in. And this person will be unaccountable to the other third of the rest of the city. And therefore, he wouldn't be accountable to him, because that person would be able to really just just kind of ignore him or whatever. And it would make you kind of fight amongst yourselves to get things done in your district. That won't be good for Eastpointe. Anything that's not united can't be good. So, thanks.
Thank you. Would anybody else wish to be heard? All right, seeing none. Hearing the public is closed. Moving on to approval of the minutes. Item A, regular meeting from November 13th. Do we have a motion?
Mayor Pro Tem, I motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of November 13th, 2017.
Do we have support?
Support?
All right. Motion by Lucido, supported by, yep.
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
DeMonico,
Yes.
Owens,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kleinfeld.
Yes. Item B, approval of the minutes from the organizational meeting, also on November 13th, 2017. Do we have a motion?
Mayor Pro Tem, I motion to approve the minutes of the organizational meeting of November 13th, 2017.
Support.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
Owens,
Yes.
DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kleinfeld.
Yes. Moving on to item 5, scheduled hearings. We don't have any. So moving on to 6, unfinished business. Item A, second reading and adoption of ordinance number 1148, rezoning of property located at 16435 8 Mile Road.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'll motion to give second reading to and adopt ordinance number 1148, which would rezone property located at 16435 8 Mile Road, parcel number 14-31-459-001, lots 1 to 6 inclusive, also lots 23 to 28 inclusive, also VAC Boulder Avenue adjacent from 8 Mile Road to Stricker Avenue, north 75 feet from R1 residential single family to P parking, and remainder of the property from R1 residential single family to OS1 office services.
Support?
Moved and supported. Did anyone want to add anything on this? Pretty straightforward, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's the least intrusive type of zoning that'll fit in with the homes that are very nearby.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Lucido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens.
Yes.
All right, moving on to item B, introduction and first reading of ordinance 1146, amendment to chapter 50 zoning, article 3, general standards, section 50-220, general parking requirements of the codified ordinances.
All right, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'll put the motion out here to introduce and give first reading to ordinance number 1146, which amends Chapter 50 zoning, Article 3, general standards, Section 50-220, general parking requirements, and schedule the ordinance for second reading and consideration for adoption at City Council's December 5th, 2017 regular meeting.
Support?
I didn't have any questions on this. I thought that the explanation that we got regarding it was adequate for me from Mary, so.
Okay, yeah, and I just had a couple comments, not exactly questions, just for folks in the audience. We're just slightly changing the parking requirements for businesses in the city, and we looked at least 6 surrounding communities and came up, our Ms. Van Haren and our planner came up with this suggestion by looking at all these various cities, so that we can have a more reasonable parking and more modern parking requirements. And businesses also will not have to immediately change to this. This is the sort of thing where new developments happen, then that's when it would take place. So I had questions about a couple places where I think there's parking issues in the city, but they're essentially grandfathered in if they would be, according to these standards, there'd be plenty of parking for those situations. And so if we have new developments that are similar, they'd be all set. So that was all. Yeah, my questions were answered by Ms. Van Haren and Greg also.
I think what I liked about it too was that if new businesses came to Eastpointe, they wouldn't be stuck with the old way. It opens up more parking for them, and it wouldn't be so bombarded by another business. So that's good for, new businesses as well. So good job on who put this together, Ms. Van Haren.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Lucido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kleinfeld,
Yes.
and Councilmember Owens.
Yes.
All right, moving on to item C, introduction and first reading of ordinance 1147, another amendment to chapter 50 zoning, article 20, screening and landscaping, section 50-235. Do we have a motion for this?
Mayor Pro Tem, I motion to introduce and give first reading to ordinance number 1147, which amends Chapter 50, zoning, Article 20, screening and landscaping, Section 50-235, aesthetic designed landscaping features, and scheduled the ordinance for second reading and consideration for adoption at City Council's December 5th, 2017 regular meeting.
I'll support that.
I support that as well. So just for the people that's watching as well, for them to get an understanding, because sometimes when we read things, it goes over the public's head. So what this is that we are, when a person buys a business, correct me if I'm wrong, that the city has something where they put trees on their business. And sometimes when they have a business, there's no way to put trees around there, how they're trying to design it. And so what we're doing is getting those people to, if they don't use those trees around their building, they paying the city to put those trees elsewhere to make the city even look better. So if a lot of people didn't know what that means, it's pretty much helping the city one way or the other. So I just want to, open that up to people who didn't understand what we're saying yay and nay to. But I support it.
did anyone have any other comments on?
No?
I had one comment. I am going to support this. What this basically does is when we require planting for every, I think we're changing it from 30 feet to 40 feet along street frontage, and then the planning commission can allow for payment to plant a tree elsewhere in lieu. I would have preferred to see just one change in it. I think I spoke to some other people about this. I wasn't able to get a hold of some people on the planning commission, but if we're allowing payment in lieu of trees, then I wouldn't have also had the change where you're required to have less trees. Given the measurements, it's going to be the difference between 2 and 3 trees, like not a lot, because it's 40 and 30 feet. Most places don't have, 200 feet. So, but that's all I had to comment on it. And if no one else.
Did you want to amend it then, or? Are you suggesting that, or?
No, it was just it was a thought I wanted to share, but I would rather go with the planning commission's recommendation, so,
Okay.
personally.
I think it's a pretty neat idea, for sure. And it's, again, more flexible and I think reasonable also for businesses, so.
Well, the planning commission can already, seek a variance so that we don't have to offer trees now. We can at least have an option of, well, pay for them elsewhere then.
Yeah.
So, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kleinfeld,
Yes.
and Councilmember Owens.
Yes.
Moving on to item 7, reports from administration, and we'll start with the city manager.
Several,
Wait, we skipped.
we have one more.
Oh, I'm sorry. I will move back to item D. Adoption of resolution 1844, establishing a policy to provide persons occupying properties purchased by the city of Eastpointe from Macomb County through tax reversion a right of first refusal. I don't mind starting off talking about this. Does anyone want to make a motion on this to start off discussion?
I think as we've done it before, either way, we could talk and then do a motion, or else I think Sturgis even suggests that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, so.
So what I was going to say about this was, if we move forward with it, I do have a list of things that I would want to see added. So I don't know if we want to do this right now and just kind of like ask for things to be added, and then Rich can go back and work on this again and add those things in, so.
Yeah, I have a couple of concerns with it also.
Yeah, I do too.
I think that's fine. This wouldn't apply for a while, so we have time.
Yeah.
I'd say we're not going to
Yeah.
have new tax reversion properties for months. so-
July.
So, quite a few months.
You should have an idea for it by July.
Well, we won't wait that long, but we'll
Yeah,
have,
by July, yeah.
10.
Ju-
July's when we have
10,
reversions,
12.
not wait till July. July's when we have reversions.
Right, I'm just saying we have quite a few meetings to
So do
firm this
we
up.
want to discuss what we want in it and then just approve it with it revised instead of approving it now?
Yeah, I don't think we should approve it until we
Yeah.
have it written up.
Okay.
Did you want to start with the things that you were?
Well, my biggest concern was, and I don't know how the rest of council feels about this, I'm not necessarily against giving them the first right of refusal, but I don't think that we should be selling them on land contracts. I don't think that the city should be the one, holding the note. That would be my biggest concern with it. But if they could get, financing to purchase the home at that rate, or if a relative wanted to, loan them the money or something, I would be fine with
Can we get it?
offering them.
I'm interested to know more about that. Mr. Blum, can you weigh in on that?
Well, yes, I mean, the last one that we did a land contract, mainly because the individual did indicate that they would have credit issues where they would have a tough time getting a mortgage. The feeling was that the land contract payment was less than the monthly rent they were already paying. They'd been in the house for 4 years, had been up on their rent payments, so we felt it was good credit risk. If they default on the land contract, we foreclose, take the home back and sell it again. And based on the sales price, we'd still be ahead of the game based on market value. The one thing with the land contract that's technically an investment decision, which is in my purview, and we brought it to council as part of the sales as more of a courtesy. It did not have to actually be approved by council because it was an investment decision. That being said, I would never go out and do that without your approval. But at the time, that was the way it made the most sense to us. And from a city perspective, we ran it at a 5% interest, which if I got the money, I'm putting it in the bank at a 0.5%. So I'm getting 10 times the return on the land contract that I would having it sit in a bank account. So that was the rationale behind the land contract. This is going to be a rarity, this kind of event anyways. I mean, actually, if the county did their job, there would never be an occupant in a tax reversion home that comes back to us.
Right.
But they do not follow through on their end, and so we do end up with people living in the homes. The other reason that we had gone ahead with the last one was there had been a push by council to maintain residents. There had been discussion on that previously, and this was a way of basically moving a renter to a homeowner, keeping an occupied home up and running. We did background check. We had criminal background. I should say criminal background. We did a background on that property to make sure there was no police issues. We did code enforcement review to make sure there was no code enforcement. So we did a background on this particular property before we even offered it up to this individual. And we would do the same with any future ones.
Well, then I guess my only other concern would be if there would be a way to prevent that person from reselling the property. Because now you're doing a background on that person, but their owner, they could still go ahead and resell it to somebody else. And then the city doesn't have that background check.
Well, part of the sales agreement, which technically is not enforceable, was that they maintained the home ownership for 5 years, which was the life of the land contract.
Okay.
Legally, we couldn't stop them, but they have agreed to it with the purchase agreement that they will stay in that home.
What do you mean it's not enforceable?
That is a law, or that is an agreement that would never hold up under Michigan real estate law. You cannot prevent someone from selling something they own. We've done that, well, even when we do the employees, we require them to live in the home for 3 years at the purchase. We could not legally enforce that. Even though it's in the agreement, it's not an enforceable clause, but we put it in there anyways.
Did you, Mr. Albright, did you look into, was that an opinion from you?
It's not a formal opinion, but that's my understanding. Randy's understanding is also my understanding that it would be something hard to enforce. That if the person 3 years down the road wanted to then suddenly sell, and then again, not in a land contract situation, but if they're the actual owner of the house, the city can't step in and say, well, wait a second, we had this previous agreement because we don't have any enforceability with them with regard to that sale of that house. So
Wouldn't well, my understanding was if they wanted to turn around and sell or something, I would think it would just go back to us. We would be the person who takes, because they're violating that.
Not necessarily. I mean, they could go sell it to someone else. They would just be responsible to pay the city back for what they owe.
Correct.
On the home.
yeah, you could add that kind of language in any type of sales agreement.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they can prepay the land contract at any time too. If they wanted to go
Right.
get a mortgage
Yeah.
and pay it off, they can do that at any time.
Then they get the deed to the property.
Yeah.
So in our, so we did this with the one home under land contract. I do agree with Councilwoman Lucido. It is a rare case what
Right.
happened. I think I liked what happened with that one case. But if we did it again without a policy, I don't like getting into that. And I would want to avoid getting multiple land contracts, because then we're in the business of, if someone defaults, we're kicking them out and retaking possession, and you sort of want to like clean your hands of it and be like.
My other issue with the land contract thing too is that we are checking their background, but someone come forward and say, well, I should still be able to buy this house. Like, what criteria are we setting standard-wise where you're choosing who is allowed to and who's not? And should we have that written up, the different criteria that is, that they have to meet to be able to do that? Like, we should have that all documented so it's equal for everybody if we're gonna do it on even a land contract. Otherwise, we might have future issues with someone saying, well, I wanted to purchase a home and they let all these other people purchase homes and they wouldn't let me. If it's not actually documented out the reasons why we didn't.
Just one comment. I think we're sort of mixing this one case with the homes that we sold openly for total cash price. The ones that we sold to employees of the city. Oh,
I'm
no?
talking about this one, the land contract one.
Oh,
I'm
no,
saying, yes, if we're
I
holding the land
understand,
contract.
but this one happens to be, we sold it to the person who was actually living in it. It wasn't an open sale. to
Right,
people.
right. But still, the person was living there as a renter. When we did check, criminal background and stuff, but if someone did have, let's say the cops were called out there one time for a domestic abuse and it was an ex-boyfriend, so we're not selling it to them, they could try to take us to court and say, well, we should have a right to buy that house also. It wasn't me, it was, someone that was living here that's no longer living here. Now, so I feel like it could turn into a lot if we just avoided selling them on land contract.
Randy, over the years, how many properties has the city acquired from the county through tax reversion, say in the last 6, 7 years? Do you have a ballpark?
About 150.
And out of those 150, I think, as far as holdover tenants being, holding over in the property, I think it's probably less than 10.
Yeah, I would have said 10%, but yeah, somewhere in there where they were occupied when we got them.
And I think that, I think most of those cases were resolved with our office sending a letter to them indicating that the city is now the owner of the property and that they need to vacate within a reasonable time. I think
Correct.
most of them, the tenants did vacate. I probably 2 or 3 cases where I actually had to file a landlord-tenant action.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I said. This was a very rare
Well, and
instance.
I realize
But-
that it's, it
yeah.
happened. I'm just thinking, we're making this public now.
Right.
So we might have more people coming forward wanting to do this now that we're making it public. So, that's why I just want to be more, I don't know,
You-
ahead of the game before it does end up having legal issues.
Yeah, you're just saying we want more concrete steps, so it's not case by case.
Right, yeah, something more like in-depth if we're gonna do this, so we have it written down exactly what what they have to, have. Whether it's a credit report or, like you said, we have to have all that written down. No prior, with the code enforcement issues, things like that, have it all written down in here before we, go ahead and do it.
Randy, the trend has been as well for the amount of tax reversion properties available, that's been going down, hasn't it?
Correct.
So it peaked probably, I'm thinking maybe back in 2012, 2013.
We're in 17, so yes, the biggest batch would have been 2013 was the biggest one, which would have been the 2011 taxes.
Does administration have, there might be differing opinions, an opinion on whether or not we should even do this? My opinion is if we don't do it, then we shouldn't do a first refusal to the occupants in the future, because I think if you're going to be disposing of government property, it has to be opened somehow in a bidding process. So, but I don't know if administration would have a feeling like it's so rare, maybe don't get into it.
I've done it for 3 years, and this is the first time that I've encountered someone that was a viable tenant. I'll call it that, in the sense of,
Well, a tenant that wanted to become a homeowner.
right, they
too.
wanted to become, the other
Most
people,
tenants
when we
just
knocked on
pack
the
up
door,
and
and we
move to a
said,
new rental.
right, you could tell that they were right on the edge of leaving anyways, because I think they realized they hadn't paid their rent. These people appeared to be viable tenants that, and again, I was shocked when I went to the door and someone answered it. Because I knock on every door, go in the backyard of every house. So it was very, very unusual, and that's what, they were shocked. They didn't realize, or they had forgotten, or whatever the case may be, but they had been getting the notices placard to their house that the treasurer puts on there, but they didn't really know what the outcome was gonna be until I said, you know, the city now owns this house, and you need to be aware of it. And so they knew something was happening with the landlord, but they didn't know exactly what, or how do you claim a house, or even then, I don't think they were gonna go pay the taxes on a house that they never owned. They were just tenants. And what's weird is, this house was certified as a rental house in March, 2 or 3 months before the city got possession of it, which makes absolutely no sense why someone would spend money to certify a home as a rental property and yet not pay taxes on it for 3 years.
Well, I mean, does it mean that you have an opinion that we don't need it, or?
My opinion is, in this one particular case, I think for maybe the wrong reason, it turned out right. I do agree with, if this is something that, like anything else, if it's a piece of property that we're gonna sell, it probably ought to go to, you know, the highest bidder.
Yeah.
And then I think we should also then be thoughtful of the people living in it and not say, you know, we're coming tomorrow with a truck to throw you out.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm about.
And I understand, I'm just saying, so we just need to realize, if people are there, we need to give them some type
Yeah,
of reasonable
no.
notice, 30 days, 60 days, and say, and then we may also want to say, you know, in that 30 or 60 days, we do expect a rent, because you are living here. So, it was really, really strange, because there's like, well, how do we deal with this situation? We haven't encountered it before, or I hadn't encountered it before.
So I'm wondering if we should just not have this resolution at all and just leave it the way things were before when we did the first one.
I think
I don't know. Well,
I'm okay with that, but then I wouldn't want to proceed,
ever do it again, is what you're saying. Proceed with
Yeah.
doing another one.
never ever.
Ever.
Just because I do think that when it comes to disposing of property, we have to be fair regarding it. And I think we have to have an open process when selling homes. I think that's in the state law. That's why I'm,
Has to be open.
want to be careful.
Typically, a charter would state, I can't, this disposition of real property has to be done that way.
I mean,
Those
if they-
those sales are always approved then at a regularly scheduled council meeting.
Well,
So then if we, okay, I think we are somewhat in agreement there. If we transition then into, because I was going to ask then about how we sold to employees. I thought we'd have a comprehensive look at this for the tax reversion properties. Should we not be doing a program like that either then? Is that what you're saying, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, I think they're definitely two separate issues. And I still want to come up with a policy regarding the homes. I shared this with some of you. I had spoken to council members in neighboring cities, and some of them take those homes, fix them up, and then resell them. And I thought that might also be a good option for us to look at, because then we're guaranteeing the reinvestment in the home, and that, you know, it looks nice once we hand it over to someone else. So that's not really on our agenda tonight, but I didn't really. I don't know if we
Well-
want to try to get that on soon so we can discuss that too, but.
Well, I kind of figured, I mean, I was just figuring that this, if we were going to do this resolution, it should be a little more comprehensive than just the one very specific item. That's why I was going to bring up the rest of the process. So say that the person living there doesn't want to buy the place, then we're gonna continue.
this
There's
way.
no point in having like 10 different resolutions or something.
Oh,
That's,
yeah.
that was the
That
only
makes
reason I
sense.
figured to bring it up, and since we're just having a discussion and we're probably not passing something tonight anyway. So,
Well, it sounds like everyone is pretty much against it. But I do like the fact that when you said you went to the person's house, that they were paying rent on time, and to give them, you know, should we do it by case-by-case basis? Because we want people to stay in their home. We don't want to kick people out who are, you know, homeowner, who's occupant and are paying their rent on time and taking care of their property. We don't want to lose those type of people. But at the same time, giving first refusal that can be, it can get kind of messy, you know, when you do that, because I don't want people to think, okay, let me go behind my taxes, and then later on I'll get provided, you know, my back taxes not on my house. We don't want everybody in the city to stop paying their taxes and on their homes. So how can we just do a case-by-case basis when we get an occupant that's, like you said, that's paying rent on time, and, you know, can we do a case-by-case basis like that, like you already did? Instead of
Well, I
making a
think
whole.
we could continue forward and do like case by case, but the resolution, what I was thinking when I had a list of things I wanted to add would be things like the person living in it can't have a relationship to the owner.
Exactly.
Yeah,
things
and
like
there's
that.
actually
Yeah.
state tax law that would prevent that with a tax reversion. So you can't do that where I'm going to quit paying my taxes and I'm going to buy it back at auction at cheaper than I paid for. That would be prohibited under state law already. So you cannot buy tax reversion properties if you are delinquent on any property in the same county you're buying, which means whoever's, owner occupied wouldn't be able to buy that property. It would be prohibited by law.
Well, not the owner occupying, the person's living there somewhat is associated with that owner, and the
Right.
owner loses it, but then the person's living there, get the house for, let's say the back
Yeah.
taxes is $5,000. They own it, sell it to the original owner, and you know what I'm saying? That's what
Right.
I'm talking about. Because you can't say who's, you know, if that's not my sister, you wouldn't know, like, you wouldn't know it's my sister, but you don't know how people are doing it. I can say, live here, I'm going to get behind my taxes. Once they offer you to, you know, buy it for $5,000, sell it back to me, you know? And so if we open it up like that, it can get pretty, people get clever. And so I want people to start thinking they can do that. And then we have all type of people owning houses in Eastpointe that we don't want here. So how do we just do a case-by-case basis and not just adopt something where,
Well, this was subject to city council's final approval on there, so.
okay,
The other thing is it's sold for more than the back taxes. So from a city perspective, I mean, this was a company, an LLC that owned it, that was doing the rental. It was an out-of-state company, had an out-of-state management company, probably why they missed their tax bills. And then it was a local tenant, so there would have been no relationship there. Not that I don't care, but if it's not a person that owns it, if it's a company that owns it, they've probably paid cash for it, and they're not gonna let their investment fall by the wayside as a general rule. And so they're not gonna pull some scam where, you know, dad buys it under an LLC and then doesn't pay taxes, so the daughter can buy it at tax foreclosure. They could just quit claim it over. They wouldn't have to go through the rigmarole and take a chance on losing it, because there's no guarantee we're gonna sell it back to them.
yeah.
So, yeah,
So I said case-by-case, 'cause
well, absolutely, it's gonna be
different.
case by case.
Yeah, so,
Because I always have the same concerns you were expressing.
I'm like, oh my God, everybody be buying houses and
Yeah.
being delinquent in taxes, so, yeah, so.
So I think no one's interested in passing a resolution for first refusal right now. Does that seem,
No, it
Fair.
sounds like we need further discussion.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe in terms of the additional stuff you were talking about, Cardi, maybe that's something we could discuss with having Rich put together something for us to go off of. We already have I think I've emailed it out. Councilman Owens, I would have to send it to you too. The 2012 resolution that had the employee stuff. I can send that out again, just so we can start looking at that and going from there, I guess, but.
Sure.
Mr. Albright, do we need any action, since this is our item, if we just want to kind of let it die and move on?
The council could just let it die for now.
Okay. Any more discussion?
No, I'm good right now.
All right. I tried to skip it.
You did.
All right, moving on to item 7, reports from administration. We'll start with the city manager.
Several items, Mayor Bertram Kleinfeld. One is the Civil Service Commission meeting that had to be canceled approximately 2 weeks ago has been rescheduled. All of you have the agenda. It was at your place today. It's next Monday, the 27th at 5 PM. That's number one. Number two, the tree lighting ceremony, the annual tree lighting ceremony that's put on by RARE, the Recreational Authority, is December 6th at 7 PM here at City Hall. There was a flyer. I think all of you received the flyer. If not, then we'll make sure it gets out. And then the last one is with respect to, you all have the resumes for the approximately 25 applicants for city manager. Do you want anything to appear on the December 5th meeting in terms of talking about it, or how do you wish to proceed?
I would prefer waiting till the December 19th meeting.
Okay.
To maybe give a discussion and our top picks, and then we can start after the holiday with that information. To give Monique more time to go through them.
Is that the consensus of council?
That's fine with me. Should we just talk about it on the 5th when Mayor Pixley's here, so that we can, because I wasn't sure if we wanted to discuss the process, how many
And that's
top
really
picks do we want
to
to have?
discuss the process.
Yeah, we can discuss the process on the 5th. Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
good.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd
Perfect.
probably be a good idea.
Okay, then they'll be scheduled for discussing the process, determining what it's going to be, will be on the 5th. Okay, that's all I have.
Great. Did anyone have any questions?
No.
All right, moving on to the finance director.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. An update on the audit. I know you were requesting it about a week before the December 5th meeting. The final product will not be available by then. We'll be lucky to have it the Friday before. We'll probably get a PDF with the final on that Friday, and then they'll bring the hard copy the night of the 5th. What they can do, though, is provide a PDF to everyone with the financial section. The numbers aren't going to change. It's just the letter of transmittal, the MD&A that goes in the front. Then we have all the financial stuff, and then all of the KFIR statistical information at the back. So the middle section with all the finances can be sent out. It will be marked still draft because it's not a complete package at that point, but it'll give you the time to review it. That we can have by next Tuesday.
Okay,
I'm fine with that, yeah.
sounds good to me.
Is PDF good, or does anyone wish a hard copy?
I don't want any hard copies.
I would prefer
PDF is
PDF.
I actually want both. I'm old school. I like reading with things in my hand. So yeah.
We'll make a point to get it to you.
Okay, you can give it to me in both. Just I back up.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing was there is a requirement from MIDIC, Michigan Indigent Defense Council,
I think that's what.
something like that. It's a state organization. There's a new requirement coming out for public defenders. There's a greater requirement on the courts to provide services. The state, in theory, is going to reimburse us all of the extra costs that we are going to incur for instituting this new process. A grant application was due yesterday, which we just barely made the cutoff. That gets our numbers in there. I'm sure it'll be tweaked many times in the coming months. But just a heads up that it came to almost $700,000 of additional cost to the court to implement this process. And this is a statewide, court-by-court process. Yes, per year. No, it's an incredible amount of money that the state's going to have to cough up. Apparently, it's a ACLU lawsuit settlement that they're going to institute this, so the ACLU will drop the case. But it's going to cost the state a small fortune
Right.
to actually implement it. And that's why I say I'll believe it when the money's in the bank account. But yes, we met the deadline, and the numbers are in. So hopefully we'll hear more about that in the coming months. That's all I have.
Thank you. Did anyone have any questions? All right, moving on to our city attorney, Mr. Albright.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Kleinfeld, members of council. I do have an update for the resident regarding the Department of Justice case that's currently pending. The case now, the discovery phase for Phase 1, which was regarding past elections. That has concluded. We are now in Phase 2 discovery, and this is an opportunity for the parties to exchange information regarding the election that just took place a couple of weeks ago. And that portion of the case will proceed now for the next couple of months. There is a trial date set for, tentatively for July of 2018, but the city right now is in the process of preparing and working in conjunction with its expert and preparing its expert report right now. So that's where the city is at in the litigation in that matter. That's all I had, Mayor Pro Tem Kleinfeld. Happy to answer any questions that the council members may have.
Did anyone have any questions?
No.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to new business. Item A, collection of 2018 summer taxes, Macomb Intermediate School District.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'll motion to authorize city administration to collect the 2018 Macomb Intermediate School District summer taxes on behalf of the school district in accordance with MCL subsection 380.1611 et sec and 380.1613 subsection 1 with no expense charged to the school district.
Do we have support?
Support.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Owens,
Yes.
Lucido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kleinfeld.
Yes. Moving on to item B, appointment to Eastpointe Housing Authority. Now, this one, I don't know if anyone else was wondering. I went to the charter to look it up because it's a city manager appointment, and we are just confirming.
Mayor Pro Tem, I motion to confirm the acting city manager's appointment of Walter Jakubiak with a term to expire October 1st, 2019 to the Eastpointe Housing Authority.
Do we have support?
I'll support that.
I support that.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
DeMonico,
Yes.
Owens,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Geez, the one meeting we appoint Walt to something, he's not here.
I know.
Isn't that how it happens?
He did tell me he wanted to be here tonight, and he couldn't before the meeting. Moving on to payroll and bills. Does anyone want to make a motion?
Oh, it's your favorite.
I know. All right, I'll do it then. I'll move to approve payment of the bills in the amount of $2,507,640.
Support.
Please call the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
DeMonico,
Yes.
Owens,
Yes.
All right.
and the motion passes. I guess I should have said that earlier.
Moving on to item 10, hearing of the public. Does anybody wish to be heard? Mr. Creech?
Harvey Creech, resident of East Detroit. Thank you, Mayor Tim. A discussion was made here not too long ago, and I'll just make this one point blank. It said, please be advised on the 21st day of September 2017, you submitted a FOIA request for the following public records. Copy of a written agreement between Roseville, St. Clair Shores, East Detroit for the use of a batch plant, other machinery interest. Or was this a verbal agreement? As the FOIA coordinator of the city of East Detroit, I have searched for the records and determined that they do not exist. If there's an agreement, I mean, how can the city, and I am truthful as sin, how can the city make another agreement with the city for something like this? To put a batch plant in, to use our water, as I said, between the three cities, size-wise or anything, I find this hard to believe. And who makes these decisions? Here's a letter. I was told for the last 4 years in the city of Roseville, Eastpointe, and St. Clair Shores, DPW has worked together to share the concrete batch plant and do street projects. The first 2 years, it was in Roseville, and St. Clair Shores. During the years that we did our 14 million worth of projects was in St. Clair Shores. This year we volunteered to have it. Having a local batch plant serves time for all projects and the way the contractor doesn't have to leave the city to get concrete. Did we do any job this year at Eastpointe concrete? I'm just asking. Because I know St. Clair Shores, Warren, this is crazy. We did streets and we burnt up thousands and thousands of gallons of water. Not one place in here says, not one place. If anything, the contracts, it says we were monitor and meter water on projects. I had another for you. Earlier this year, I asked to see if there was anything that was monitored. There was one job that was monitored on Gratiot that cost $135. $135. As I said before, too, one cement truck, a 10-yard cement truck, takes 30 to 35 gallons of water per yard. That's 350 gallons
You have 30 seconds.
for one truck. There are so many questions that the people need to ask. They were talking about water loss. No, we need to know where it's going. Right now, our water bills, I said before too, and I would please, I want to direct this to the city manager, to Randy Blum. I would like to get down there. I've made many phone calls. I want to get a total breakdown of the funds for the residents of Eastpointe, because at the present time, I think that 40% increase was outrageous. And excuse me, if I can have one more thought. I'm glad to see Tony here. Is there any way the city could come back in and get a recreation committee going again too? We lost it when we had the authority, and I would love to see it so the people could come back in and get the interest going into the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Beach. Does anybody else wish to be heard? Please state your name in the microphone.
Hello, Tome from Eastpointe. I have a couple of questions regarding when you guys find homeless animals, dogs and cats, obviously. I read in the city ordinance that in certain cases, these animals are being sent off to be basically experimented on, which is basically, they're tortured for, say, a shampoo or soap or whatever, but they're tortured and they get killed. What I want to know is who made this decision to send these animals that are homeless, not by their own fault. The adoption centers are filled. If no one adopts them, apparently some of these animals, cats and dogs, are going to be experimented on. What I'm trying to figure out is who made this decision, why is this still happening, and how do we end this? Because this is absolutely unacceptable. And anybody that thinks that animals being experimented on is nicey. I please go to YouTube and watch what they do to these animals when they experiment on them. So what I'm asking the city of Eastpointe is to end this like yesterday, immediately. There's no reason for this. These animals should not have to suffer because they're homeless and because nobody wants them because of the economy or whatnot. But this has got to stop. I don't know what St. Clair Shores or Warren or Grosse Pointe or Detroit does, but I read in the Eastpointe city ordinance that these animals are being sent to be experimented on, which is basically tortured. So I'm asking whoever's in charge of this, please stop this immediately. Thank you.
Thank you. We can't respond right now, but if you stick around, we'll have comments in a minute. We might be able to address that. Would anybody else wish to be heard?
Good evening. Tony Lipinski with the Recreation Authority for Roseville and Eastpointe. Mr. Marucci stole my thunder earlier. I just wanted to invite Mayor and Council, all the residents of the city of Eastpointe to the annual Eastpointe tree lighting ceremony, which will be held Wednesday, December 6th, 7 p.m. here at Eastpointe City Hall. Once again, the Eastpointe Lions Club will be providing cider and donuts and hot chocolate. The Eastpointe High School Choir will be here to help the residents stay in tune. I should say, and the council members stay in tune. We just wanted to invite all the residents out to help bring in the holidays for that. Bring your camera. It'll be a nice event for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else wish, does anybody else wish to be heard? All right.
Hey, Mr. Dirk, I didn't know if you had seen it or not. It was like a last minute.
Well, thank you for answering my question. And it's kind of like a two-part question, and I don't know if I sufficiently said what I was trying to say. But I guess I wanted to answer whether all the council members were unified in fighting against the federal government on this. And if not, what their reasons were to not be.
Thank you. Again, we can't respond right now, but we'll have comments in a moment. Does anybody else wish to be heard? Please state your name into the microphone.
Good evening. My name is Marilyn Parent, and I lived here for 5 years. And I can honestly say that I have received good service. And I have seen the neighborhood change in the last 4 years, and it's frightening. I see people come in, well, the tax roll, foreclosed homes. There's only one company that buys all the houses. And then, and like in my neighborhood, it could have been 5 houses he purchased. And let's say he bought the houses for $20,000. He would invest $10,000 in a house and then turn around and sell it to me for $50 or $60. But anyway, I would like to see those houses go toward maybe 40% toward homeowners and, no, 60% toward homeowners and 40%, maybe 30% for real estate, investors. Because the properties that they have bought, I think they're vacant now and they don't look well. Trash is another issue. I never seen this much trash, and I'm not able to clean because I love my city, I love my home, I love my neighborhood. I would clean if I could, but the trash is just unbearable. And I want to know who, I think it's American Dream, who cleans up and does the landscaping. I want to know how much money do they get? And what are they supposed to clean? Because someone told me they just do the grass and not the curb. And every day I have to go past the sidewalk or the curb that's filled with trash that's blocking the, what do you call those wells on the street wells, or whatever you call it, drain. And I'm like, it wasn't like this 5 years ago. So I need to know, as a citizen, do I need to take pictures? What do I need to do to keep the city clean from 8 Mile to 9 Mile? That's what I need to know, because I care, and I'm not gonna allow things to go the way I seen. Like, for instance, this man bought a house for $40,000. I said, okay, we're getting somebody to move in, a homeowner. The next week, he put a for sale sign, went to a Section 8 with a live-in boyfriend and 3 children. And
You have 30 seconds.
yeah, so maybe we need to monitor the Section 8 permits, but I just want to keep the city clean and affordable for single mothers with home without live-in boyfriends. Thank you.
Thank you. You did have a lot of questions. If you would like to give your contact information to Linda over here, then we could follow up with anything that we're not able to answer. Would anybody else wish to be heard?
Gary Myron from Eastpointe. Cleaning the city. A lot of it is homeowners. Back in the day, been here 30 years. My whole street, everybody took care of it. What do they do now? Just a handful. I clean the neighbor's sewers because it's part of my sewer too. From leaves. You look at all the other sewers, they're all full of leaves. Mostly it's the homeowners. I have more renters than homeowners, so they're not gonna rake the leaves. Starts with the homeowners. People living in the city, renters or not. Pick up your leaves. That's all it takes, and your garbage. That's where the city starts going down. It's not the city, it's people living in it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else wish to be heard? All right, seeing none. Hearing the public is closed, and we'll move on to mayor and council reports. Hardy, how about we start with you?
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I'm going to try and address, a few of these questions. First of all, Mr. Creech, I did ask administration to forward your FOIA requests, and anyone else. And I believe, because the information you talked about sounded familiar, I believe we have all of those. We might need to forward them to Ms. Owens now. But I have looked at that information. Then second, the Department of Justice. Our city attorney here just wasn't going to speak on the behalf of the council on how each of us individually feels. So I'm looking at this as I'd like to continue the, I don't know how else to put it except discussion with the Department of Justice. I want to keep moving forward and talk about all these different issues like that you brought up. It sounds like a very straightforward issue, but then when you start to look at it, they would maybe want us to do, the elections with the gubernatorial elections, and everyone's all elected at once, and you're only elected in your district, so then you're only voting for one city council person, and it makes a very large difference, like you're saying. Personally, I want to keep moving forward with that and keep looking at that. Then second, I received a phone call from a resident about dogs and cats, somewhat like this gentleman saying. Now, if we could, Mr. Marucci, real quick, we're working with Macomb County Animal Control.
I think the best
now,
person is Public
Mr.
Safety Director
McNeilans.
McNeilans, because he handles that contract. I think he can tell you specifically and exactly what's going on.
What's the question?
This gentleman's saying that dogs and cats are, homeless dogs and cats are sent off to who knows where, but what I understand is Macomb County Animal Control handles these animals. They're not being, used in experiments or anything like that, and we're not, only in extreme situations would we put an animal down for health reasons or things like that. We're not just picking them up and putting them down.
True, and in fact, our ordinance prohibits any kind of torture or cruelty to animals, and we strictly enforce that. So yes, we do work with the Macomb Animal Shelter, and they work with various rescue groups, so they make every effort to get dogs adopted out, so dogs or cats that are brought to the shelter.
Okay. And then euthanizing is not a normal situation, right? That was just if the animal is in dire straits, or
Well, it does happen if the animal's not in good health. But yeah, they make every effort not to do that. That's the last resort.
yeah. Okay. And then the trash. I think Mr. Myron and Ms. Parent. We do. Yeah. Again, the homeowners, of course, are a big part of it, or any residents, because you got to clean up your your own place, like you're saying, Mr. Myron. We do a couple things. The Beautification Commission on Earth Day, this last Earth Day, we picked up trash along 8 Mile and at the corner of 9 Mile and I-94. So next Earth Day, if everyone can recruit a few people, we'll clean up some more areas of the city. We do have the street sweeper and things like that to do our part. Our contractor wouldn't be, like the American Dream Landscaping wouldn't be there to clean up all the streets. Like, they would just be there to do that particular property. And then I think that was all the items that I wanted to address there. And I think some of these events, yeah, we talked about Mr. Lipinski talked about the tree lighting. But then today we, a couple of us on council here, Mr. Kleinfeld and Ms. Lucido, we stopped at a Habitat for Humanity, Macomb County, was doing a ribbon cutting. The brand new families moving into Eastpointe. So we just stopped by to show our support. And so we've got a new resident, the Coleman family. They're moving in on Tuscany, so that's exciting. They have another one coming up. And then happy Thanksgiving to everyone in a couple days here. And don't forget that Saturday, then a Small Business Saturday. So buy everything from all the businesses in Eastpointe, please. And then just two more things that'll happen just a couple days after our next meeting. So just want to mention them now. December 8th at Iron Ivy, there's what they call Moonlight Madness. It's a customer appreciation event, 10% off everything, and they just kind of hang out there. It's in the evening. I don't know exactly what time it starts, but look online. And then the day after, having the It's a Wonderful Life radio play put on by Pace. That'll be at Eastpointe High School. That information's also been emailed out if you're on our email list, and it'll be on our website and all that. And that was all I had, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
All right. Ms. Lucido?
I don't really have that much this evening. I just already covered a lot, so I just want to wish everyone a happy and safe Thanksgiving holiday.
Ms. Owens?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem Kleinfeld. I just wanted to go over, well, I wasn't at the Habitat for Humanity. I was at the library today. I am new on the commission, so I'll be informing you about some of the things coming up with the library, and involves Santa Claus. He is coming to the library December 12th. That will be Tuesday from 6 to 7:30. So if you're not doing anything, bring the kids. It's a good way to get involved with your community, meet some new neighbors, see some things that's happening new at the library coming up for the new year. I also want to talk about the fundraiser at Kroger's, the Community Rewards Program. We really need to support our library by doing that. It takes only a minute. Go online, the Kroger's, you know, they always give a percentage back to the community. And we also having a Christmas party December 19th at the library, so you guys come on out. Again, there will be food, so come on out. That it will be sponsored by the Friends of the Library, so come out, again, come on out. It's a good way to get involved with your community, talk to other people, you know, meet some new neighbors, and I think that's one way we need to be able to be united as a community, not when a lawsuit comes up, but just in general. We have community events all throughout Eastpointe. We have harvest events. We have events that Eastpointe provides. We need to be involved in our community. We need to. That's how you stay united. And so that's pretty much all I have.
All right, thank you.
Oh, one more thing. Can we do one more thing?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, one more thing, because I'm so involved in community and kids. The library provides tutor.com, and it's something free that you can actually talk to a live tutor, and it's free. So if your kids are having problems in school and things like that, sign up for tutor.com. A lot of people don't go to the library often because we're so tech savvy and things like that. You can actually do it at home. So, you know, contact the library. Tutor.com helps with your kids. Even if you're going back to school, you know, everybody's going back to school at all type of ages these days, and we all need a little bit of help. So tutor.com, stay in your library, stay, you know, in your community, stay involved, and I think that's definitely it.
Okay. All right. I just want to say, first, I want to say thank you to Margaret Smith. She was the housing commissioner that is stepping down, that created the vacancy. She had been on the commission for 8 years. So I think all of this up here would say that we really appreciate her service. In the same vein, congratulations to Walter, who couldn't be here tonight, but we have a meeting for the Housing Commission at 10 a.m. tomorrow, so I will see him there, I'm sure. Congratulations again to the Coleman family that moved in. They were really nice. Mr. Coleman's father and his mother had just bought a house like 2 blocks away a couple months ago.
Yep.
So they're all moving in, I guess. So congratulations to them. And I did want to say regarding the litter, because I want to give credit where credit is due. I believe it's JJ Mish employees. It's either JJ Mish or it might be DPW, but we have individuals who go out every day to pick up litter in certain spots in the around the city. 8 Mile and Gratiot, I know, is one of them, but it's a big problem. I think you're correct on that, but I also think they have to be careful about stepping into the street. But
This is JJ Mish,
JJ Mish,
the primary.
and so I know that they clean constantly, and it can be hard to keep on top of because it is, you need the help of the residents to not throw anything on the ground in the first place. That said, keep an eye out for signs for street sweepers on your street. I know my street's being done today. If you see it, move your cars to make sure that they can actually sweep the entire street. So that's all that I have. Happy holidays to everyone, and I hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving, and I will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'll motion to go into closed session regarding attorney-client privilege communication for the pending Department of Justice litigation.
We have support.
Support.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Lucido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kleinfeld,
Yes.
and Councilmember Owens.
Yes.
All right, we'll take a 5-minute break and